Hello friends, these are the training videos being published for our customers and their employees to understand various financial and the social compliance requirements prevailing for the various certifications and standards. I just would like to tell you about the Padmakala. Padmakala is around 20-year-old company which has held more than 150 customers globally for various social, financial, ethical, IMS, ISO related projects. We had been serving various ISO standards like QMS, EMS, OSHA's, 14,000, 27,000, 22,000. We had been also associated with various international brands like Walmart, Signet, RJC, Kmart, Canada Mark, GMP, Disney, Costco, etc. etc. Our role is always as a compliance guidance or advisor, wherein we guide companies to implement those international vendor codes of conduct. Please enjoy the video. Please like the video. If you like, please tell us. Thank you very much. Welcome to one more digital training program organized by Padmakala Management Services. Today we are going to cover the topic on OECD, which is a newer requirement coming across to a gem and jewelry industry, mainly because of ethical sourcing. We are going to cover OECD applicability for a diamond industry. So to understand first of all OECD, I will take you a little backside. The OECD requirement started way behind. Maybe initially it was a KYC KYS which we are doing towards a money laundering, terrorism financing and other financial offenses. Over a period, once the systems has been defined very well and people have started understanding the requirement of KYS, KYC, money laundering, terrorism financing and the controls and means of terrorism financing and all that, the industry felt a need to identify conflict-free sourcing also, because again the sourcing, if it is from conflict affected area, it may lead to money laundering, terrorism and other financial offenses. So the OECD main focus is on to source from an ethical location or ethical country where you have no issues of conflict. Now conflicts, as far as OECD is concerned, it has been divided into three major areas. Conflict of origin. So one is, if it is origin to a certain locality which is in a conflict due to private military forces holding over there, due to political instability, due to other human right violations like Maranga region of Zimbabwe. So those are the conflict affected areas. So one is due to a location, conflict due to a location. Second is conflict due to a transport route. If your goods are coming from a conflict affected route also, that can lead to any money laundering risk or high risk of terrorism funding and financing and everything. So this is the second. And third is circumstantial. There is a sudden, the area is not conflict affected, but due to some political issues or some war where the local government does not have hold on the proceeds or the outcome of the mine producers, and there are some issues prevailing in that particular region, that is a circumstantial conflict, CHAR basically. So now to implement, how to implement OECD. Before understanding the implementation of OECD, I would like to tell you that I have, for a simplicity of understanding, I have divided diamond industry into three categories, which is in line with the OECD requirements, but I am just slightly deviating from the standard norms. We are dividing industry into a primary market, secondary market and open market. So these are the three buying methods by which the diamond industry is divided. Primary is basically those companies who are originally sourcing directly from mines, who are buying from mines directly, where there is no conflict affected issues, like buying directly from DPOs, Rio Tinto, Alrosa, BHP and likewise mines, which is with the primary origin. Now secondary origin is the origin where a first importer, rough importer is there, who has sourced from a primary market, and you are buying a sealed parcel, sealed package with a known traceability and paper trail, which easily evident that the material source is conflict free. That's a secondary market. Third category is open market. Open market where you know verbally based on the information provided by the supplier, but there is no documentary evidence or the diamonds are not in a sealed bag from the mines, there's a loose diamonds. So probability of mixing of conflict affected diamonds or the risk of conflict affected supply is very high because you go on a word of mouth commitments. There is no documentary trail or there is no KP certificate or no other information available by which you can establish. And there are series of channel partners. So it must have like more than 10 hands, 15 hands has been changed over a period the diamond reaches to you. So now from the OECD perspective, if I want to rate, I will say primary is the zero risk. There is no risk of conflict affected goods. Secondary also has a very low risk, and but the open market is the highest risk potential, which can lead to a conflict. So this is one kind of a segmentation based on the buying pattern. Second segmentation, which OECD themselves is saying in a supply chain mapping, where we are talking about a mine producer, then the first diamond manufacturer or importer or a trader or a cutter or a polisher, tier 1 company, tier 2 company, and then we have a wholesaler, trader and retailer. So in this category also the company involved in manufacturing activity and buying directly from primary secondary market, they are responsible to have upstream supply chain information in detail so that it becomes easy for them to provide confidence of OECD compliance, conflict free metal or a gold supply to their supply chain downstream with a confidence based on the information what they have. Now coming to OECD 5-step framework, what we have discussed. So the OECD says you first have to establish the management system. Now what does it mean by establish a management system? You have to understand your supply chain. For an example, I am a diamond producer. I need to understand where I get my rough from. Then I have to divide my rough supplies from primary, secondary and open market. Then I distinguish and identify the high risk potential, low risk potential suppliers. Then I make a list of those suppliers. I try to gather information from those suppliers with respect to their upstream supply chain and their due diligence and their money laundering policies, their diamond ethical sourcing policies, their financial compliance policies, and I do a due diligence, maybe a detailed due diligence and set of information I collect. Then I analyze those informations of my supply chain, and then based on that year over year I identify potential customers where I have to do an improvement actions, where I will do a supplier engagement process, wherein I engage with supplier, try to educate them, try to make them aware. When we talk such kind of information from a supplier, there is a high probability that supplier might feel insecure in terms of they might feel that their business secrecy will be lost if we sell, if we provide the details of our upstream supplies. So we have to gain the confidence and make them understand that it is not for the purpose of making or remove them from the supply chain, but it is just to ensure whatever they are supplying, it is supplying ethically, so that together we can have a sustainable growth and we can curtail the bad part of conflict affected supplies in the real diamond supply industry, and thus we can counter attack the terrorism activities which is somehow getting prevailed with gem and jewelry industry being involved in precious metal. So second step is identifying the accessories. So moreover, first step and the second step goes very clear. First is I establish what is my supply chain, I bifurcate my supply chains, and then I identify potential risk, and then second step talks about that I have to make a list of suppliers, I have to gather their information, I have to analyze those information, I have to identify improvement actions, I have to start communicating, conduct a training, conduct an awareness, and bring them to my requirements to provide ethical supply informations. Then the moment you do this, the third step is I have to appoint a compliance officer. Rather, it's in for a second step only that I have to appoint a compliance officer who will do an ongoing monitoring. Now, what do I mean by an ongoing monitoring is your typical financial compliance officer, what we have already appointed for AML, CFT, Kimberley, product security, disclosure. The same compliance officer or maybe a deputy to him will ensure whatever rough supply you receive, he does the due diligence of each supply in terms of whether the known informations are available or not available, and if there is no information available, what red flag they can raise. So basically that red flag raising and the review of those activity will trigger to a third step of management of risk. So while doing that online assessment, you try to establish whether the KP certificate is available, seal packet is available, the information to the supplier of chain of document is available, on which you can establish the rough supply is from conflict affected area or not. Moment you say it is not from a conflict affected area, you can straight away go to step number 4 or step number 5. You don't have to do a risk and management because there is no risk. So this is how the compliance officer has to do on a continual basis for all primary, secondary and open market. The main risk relies in open market. So the company has to be more stringent and has to obtain more relevant information from the supply chain whenever you are buying from open market. The company also has to monitor the percentile distribution about their sourcing, that how much they source from primary, how much they source from secondary and how much from open market. The percentile of the open market source would be at higher risk. How to curtail that? You normally try to buy from the known vendors where you have the known information, where you know that from where they source, you know the owners, you know their buying patterns, you know their business very well. So one is you have to have an established, reputed and known suppliers. Second is you have to do an ongoing monitoring. Third is you have to educate them, train them and ask them to establish OECD policy at their level, so that they also can have a systematic way of getting information from their supply chain, upstream supply chain. So in turn, as a company, as a supplier, as a team, you establish a strong vigilance system which will ensure that your compliances are appropriate. Now once you do a risk management, that there will be a probability that you find a red flag. Now when you read a red flag, that doesn't mean that it's a high risk area. If you, for the information which is incomplete or inappropriate, you will raise a red flag. Moment you get the relevant information and the compliance officer is satisfied with the information being provided, red flag can be closed. If it is not being closed, if it is still open, you can still do a supplier engagement, try to identify a mechanism or a procedure by which you give sufficient time to a supplier of 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, and then you decide of disengagement. That this is the time where the supplier has to improve their systems and policies and procedures so that they provide all complete information and no need of raising any red flags to them. And this is how the standard is talking about continual improvement, that by managing the risk, by doing a supplier engagement, you complete step number 1, 2 and 3. Step number 1, which we discussed, is establishing management system, identifying and assessing the risk. Third is managing the risk. Fourth is reporting annually. So basically the OECD guidelines says that you have to do your own due diligence and you have to submit your annual compliance report to the customers based on third party assessment. So there will be a third party agency which will be hired by you to do the assessment. Now as per the VPP RJC guideline, currently we don't have to hire any third party to do a due diligence on our supply chain policy, but rather doing the annual assessment and a recertification or a midterm review. The auditing agency will assess your sourcing policy and they will submit a report. In turn, BPP and RJC will issue as a third party compliance report to you on OECD sourcing policy. Now based on that, you have to give an annual report or a declaration on your invoice on your website, which is publicly available, and the client can see or the buyers can see your sourcing policy and your areas of improvement or what actions you have already taken. It is a very narrative and a brief description of what you do and how you do and all that. There are standard checklists available on the OECD guideline document, and based on those checklists the report has to be published. So more or less the third party report and your report will be in the same format, but that will be independent, audited, and this will be a self-declared sort of a report. So this is all about OECD compliances. What you have to do. For any further information or clarification what you need, you can always contact us. Our contact details are mentioned and our even website details are available from where you can contact us. Thank you.